There are not enough good things that I can say about Jenna Phillips Ballard. First off, she is the catalyst for my own personal growth and transformation. And that's because her and her husband are actually the founders of Ascension Leadership Academy, which also is abbreviated as ALA. You guys have probably heard me talk so many amazing things about Ascension Leadership Academy. I reference them in my book because that program, that experience rather, completely transformed me and my life. Really, I transformed myself in that container. And if it weren't for the container that Jenna and Brad created, I would not be where I am today. And I can say that with full certainty. So I love Jenna. I appreciate Jenna from the depths of my being. And she is a freaking rock star, you guys. She's a boss babe. She's a wife. She's a new mother. She actually began her career in 2006 as a certified personal trainer and life coach for celebrities. So she was on like Dr. Phil, the show called The Doctors. She trained Ben Stiller and Katy Perry. So she's always been on this path of doing big things. And halfway through her career, she actually realized that she had a much bigger calling. And she has been on a mission ever since to motivate and inspire as many people as possible to becoming leaders and really truly making this world a better place. And like I said, cannot say enough great things about this woman. She is insanely powerful, and I'm so excited for you to meet her if you haven't already. By the way, she's a second-time guest. We're going to leave in the show notes another episode, the first episode that she came on. She was actually the second episode ever, I believe, on my podcast. So without further ado, let's welcome back Jenna Phillips Ballard. Jenna, I am so excited to have you on the show again. This is your second time on. You guys, Jenna came on the show. She was one of my first episodes when I launched the podcast. We all knew she was going to come on again. And so I'm so excited to have you here for the Female on Fire series. Thank you so much, Jenna, for taking the time and the energy to pour into the audience today.
You are so welcome, and thank you for having me. Obviously, I love pouring my heart into people that I love, and I am always so excited to add whatever value that I can to support you and what you're up to. And you're just such an incredible leader and such a visionary, like so committed to lighting everyone's soul on fire. Like anyone who's lucky enough to be in your experience and be in relationship with you is that much better of a person. So I'm so happy to be here.
Oh, thank you, Jenna. I received that. Thank you. And I want to take a moment and I want to really share with you and the audience why I chose you as one of the 11 females on fire and why I believe you're really a shining example of what it means to be a female on fire. So number one, you a boss. All right. We all know she's a boss. She is, oh my gosh, Jenna. And as you heard in the intro, what she has achieved in her life is incredible. And her passion behind it and the purpose behind it. She's one of the most, you, Jenna, are one of the most powerful and transformational female speakers I personally have ever experienced. So there's that. And I'm not done. So don't say anything yet. Okay. I'm still going to shower you. Okay. So receiving. So the second thing is you are so fully expressed. You are one of the most fully expressed women that I know. Every side of you, that elegant goddess, the like 5-year-old, the playful 5-year-old, all of these parts of you, you so elegantly express, and you really are the definition of that fully expressed goddess. So that is another thing that I just so have always admired about you. And thirdly, you're a humanitarian, you're a philanthropist, you're about giving back and transforming this planet. Your mission is huge, and it inspires so many people to also step up their missions and play a global game. And of course, you have a conscious king by your side who I know and love, Brad. And he's, you guys work together, you guys support each other. You guys have such an epic love that I also very much admire. And last but certainly not least, you're a mama bear now. So you guys, she's a new mama. I haven't got to meet Jax yet. I'm so excited to talk with you now because before when you're on the podcast, you didn't have him yet. So now you're at a whole nother level of really doing it all and like creating that harmony in all these areas and hats that you and roles that you play. So I'm really excited to dive deeper, but I just really want to acknowledge you first about all these parts of you that really, really show what a true female on fire you are.
Oh, girl, thank you. Wow, for all of that. I'm like, wow, I did all that. Yes, I do those things. And yes, I be that, all those things. Yes. So and as you were talking about the fully expressed part of who I am, my commitment as a woman, as a leader, is to really embody all the archetypes of what it means to be a woman, a powerhouse. I think that to be a leader and to be an influencer and to be somebody who has eyes on him or her and to not be a philanthropist and to not be a humanitarian is a huge miss. And I think that that's something that I would really love to see in the environment of influencers, is that they really use their platform to make a difference, because otherwise what's the purpose of it? Just to collect likes and comments? It's like we have this opportunity to make an impact, to make a difference. And so that's really my soul's mission, is to not only be that, but also show others how to be that, and that it's really quite easy. I think that the conversation of, oh, I'm to change the world. I mean, if you think about the world, there are billions of people, almost 8 billion people on this planet. And so that can feel really, really overwhelming to a lot of human beings. But what I want to say to everybody who's listening right now is that changing the world happens with one person at a time. And if you really want to impact the planet, to really deeply, profoundly impact one person, you have no idea what kind of ripple effect that's going to create. And so that's really my specialty, is being with people in the trenches with them and really connecting with them. And you've experienced that, of course, but I'm so happy to be here and connect with you and your audience and share with them about really what it means to be a fully expressed woman. So yeah, It's awesome to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. I'm so excited. I'm so happy you said yes to this. And I'm really excited, guys, too, because Jenna, she is able to really look at things from a perspective of abundance, and abundance is one of her favorite things to teach. And abundance has such a kind of a misconstrued kind of meaning, and a lot of people can take it a lot of different ways. And it ties so perfectly, your concept of abundance, which I'm going to actually have you share in a second here, ties so much into the mindset and the heart set that you have when you are that expression of having it all, and you're showing women that they can have it all. From that, it doesn't need to be a this or that, an either or, that it can be a both and. You can have both. There is a way. So I would love for you to I love your definition of abundance. So I would just really love for you to share that with the listeners before we dive into having it all.
Oh, thank you for that. I mean, anytime I have the opportunity to speak about what it means to have an abundant mindset, it's my favorite thing to coach. Because like you said, there is a misconstrued perception and assumption about what it means to be abundant. I think a lot of people think it means to have the nicest car, to have, the most expensive purse, to have all the things. And while I absolutely experience the preference of having high quality things and experiences and environments and, traveling and all of that, if you really want to pull it apart and you want to look at what it actually means to be abundant, it really means to know that there's more than enough of everything, that it's not the either or. Like, you literally can't have it all. And so abundance is not just money. I mean, money is a tool. Money is one way that you can experience, creating more, accessing more, having more, calling it in. And having more access to money allows you to be in bigger service to the planet. So that's why I think that in the conversation of that I know that a lot of coaches and healers, like they come up against this money block, because they feel like, oh, I'm going to be more spiritual if I give my services away, or if I, undervalue, or I drop the price point, or I give people bonuses, or, I'm giving them discounts, because that somehow makes them a better person. But if you think about it, what are you actually teaching people that you're serving? If you feel like they need to have a discount, or they can't afford what you're offering, not only are you holding them small, but you're also injecting your own limitations into their fullest capacity to grow above and beyond. Because if you really think about what you want to teach everybody, if you really are committed to serving people, it is that they can absolutely create whatever it is that they want, whatever it is that they desire. Like that's available to every single one of us. And so really breaking through that patterning, because if you think about the scarcity mindset, it's learned, because we're born with the wisdom of, we have the ability to tap into anything. We have the ability to create anything, manifest anything. Like everything's available to us. And when we're around the age of like 2, we finally start to understand what it means to hear no. Like, no, what do you mean I can't have that right now? So we know that we can literally have anything. We believe that it's universal wisdom that we're born with. And so we experience the scarcity that's passed down from our lineage, like way back. And so it really takes a really brave, courageous person to be willing to break through those scarcity beliefs, the limitation beliefs, and that's all passed down from old patterning and conditioning. And so I really see that there's a huge disconnect when people are wanting to experience more abundance. They automatically, I want to experience more money. But if you fully believe that you are absolutely connected, directly connected to God, to source, the universe, your spirit guides, whatever you prescribe to, when you trust that and you know that, not only do you trust that the timing of the universe is perfect, everything's happening right when it's meant to, right when it's supposed to, but we've all survived 100% of our worst days. We're not going to be, the universe is not trying to punish us. So that comes up a lot for people that I encounter, is like they feel like they don't deserve that, or it's not available to them because something that they did, or karma, or whatever that is. But the universe wants every single one of us to win. The universe wants us to thrive and be abundant and have access to health, have access to powerful, positive, encouraging relationships, a safe house. Like the universe wants all for us, God, or like whatever it is that you prescribe to. So I think that's like the biggest thing, is abundance doesn't just mean money. It means having relationships, having a tribe, having a family, having community all around you. And so that's the biggest thing that I'd love to see when they get this aha moment. They realize like, oh, abundance is literally all the things, everything, relationships, people, all of it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And I love what you said about, it's so true. People get to get paid well for their gifts. And what you said really reminds me of, I have a business coach I just hired, Laura Wright, and she speaks about this in a really cool way. She says, transformation happens at the transaction. So the transaction is when, that's literally the first point of transformation. Mm-hmm. And she says the reason why is because, think about it this way. If you bought a ticket to go see a concert, an event, right? And you spent $27 to go to this event, and something came up, like pretty important, maybe you could miss it, right? You'd miss it. If you spent $2,700, $2,700 at this event, you sure as hell will move mountains and find a way to make it there, to experience the event, all the things, right? So you're calling people, like you said, just at the opposite of what you said is when you're discounting, you're calling people to you're holding them at a small game, when you are charging them to their highest worth and their highest game. So the level at which they show up becomes that much more powerful. It's now 100 times more powerful than you were to charge, 100 times or 10 times less or whatever it is. So I really love that. And I wanted to just add that little tidbit in because it's so important. I've heard the same thing as you, my clients as well, women, I feel like it's super common among women where we just feel this need to offer things for free, to discount ourselves. I used to do this all the time before ALA. I used to do this all the time. I used to discount my services. And now I realize that I'm not just robbing myself. I'm actually robbing the other person of a way higher, more valuable experience.
Absolutely. 100%. So, the biggest thing, and now like I'm experiencing in real time, like having it all. So I'm staying at my friend's house. We're moving our whole house, like our whole lives over to Austin. Like we're all the things. Jax is sleeping. He's now awake. I'm creating a both and a win-win.
All right, guys. So just to give you a little BTS behind the scenes, we just paused the podcast because speaking of all of this, like motherhood, both ends, right in the middle, Jaxie woke up from his little nappy and Jenna went and handled that. So Jenna, talk about that for a second. I know you have something you want to share.
No, this is so perfect. It's so interesting when things happen, and this is like back to abundance, right? And trusting that the universe is absolutely supporting you in every imaginable way. What if we just infinitely decided that everything's happening exactly as it's supposed to, and the support that we need is available literally no matter what, because I know that this happens a lot with moms, especially new moms. Like something happens and they feel defeated. They don't see another way out. It's just like everything is just kind of falls apart. And there's nothing wrong with that. If you want to fall apart, allow yourself to fall apart, have your freak out moment, and then dust yourself off and get back into it. Because I just had this moment of I'm grounded, I'm fully connected, I'm like committed, I'm all in. Jax is sleeping, it's perfect. And he woke up unexpectedly, literally an hour in advance from what I was anticipating. And those things happen. Like sometimes life throws you a curveball. And so being able to shift in a moment, like that's really also trusting, knowing that you have the resources available to you. So I'm staying at a friend's house. And my first thought was, well, my husband's not here and Natalie's not here. And I started thinking about what I did not have access to support me as I'm wanting to be focused on the podcast. And I'm like, no, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to create a new opportunity in this moment. And so I made the powerful request. Like we paused it. I handled it. He's now playing joyfully like an amazing child that he is. And so there's always something that's available to you, no matter what the curveball is, no matter what the challenge is. And so I just really invite everybody listening to focus on the opportunity in the experience. Like, even though you feel like it's a total breakdown and I wasn't anticipating this, I didn't set myself up for this, and there's always another way to figure it out and to make it work. So he's not playing by himself, playing with knives and sticking things in outlets right now. Just for all of you who are like, well, who's with the kid? So I have a 13-year-old who is standing a source of being an amazing babysitter, and she's handling it. I empowered her. I gave her all the things. I'm like, if he does this, do this. If this happens, do that. And it's all good. So now I'm back to serve all of you. And I'm so excited to have created this both hands in real time.
Like,
so perfect.
Like, how perfect is that? Like, in the moment, it is happening. It is happening right now, live. And I wanted to say something that came up for me when you were sharing that is surrender. Specifically, surrendering to what is, not what isn't, not resisting what isn't.
Yeah.
So like when things like that happen, the unexpected, especially if you have a kind of controlling personality, if you're a controller, I mean, I'm speaking for myself here, you could want to control that situation and be rigidly attached and stuck to your agenda. And I know that is one of the things that actually you taught me a lot of, Jenna. So you were a big catalyst for my ability to, because I am a rigid personality pattern. So I get stuck to my plans, my agenda, which leaves no room for magic, which leaves no room for possibilities that I may not be able to see, but God does, right? So I just want to say that right there, if you catch yourself in a moment where you're thrown a curveball and you start to feel that stress and tension, just be open to the fact that you could be being closed off to possibility. You could be rigidly being attached to your agenda. And that gives you an opportunity to surrender and see what is actually out there and available to you. So that's what I heard you say. Yeah. And I would love to hear okay. So Jenna she teaches women all over the world how to really embody what I just spoke about and many more in order to have it all and to create this space, the container to where you can have it all. Because she says a lot, you don't need to do it all to have it all. And a lot of women, we try to do it all. We try to do it all. And then we become martyrs, and then we become resentful, and then we become exhausted and burnt out. And that's not having it all. So Jenna, can you speak into that right there and share with us any tools that you have taught women in order to like support themselves in having it all?
Yeah, that's the biggest thing about what you were speaking into, how for all of you women who are listening, which I imagine a lot of you women who are listening right now are similar to Ashley and similar to me, because like attracts like. And so you can do anything, like you literally can do anything, but you can't do everything, at least not all at once. And so we all have our zone of genius. And if you really, really want to access that next level, like that heightened level of full capacity to allow yourself to experience what it means to have it all, that means that you're not doing the $10 an hour tasks yourself. You're not doing all the things that ultimately do not bring you joy. I mean, yes, there are some things that you got to kind of just get through short term, but if you're doing something on a long-term basis that does not bring you joy, that sucks the life out of you, that is not your zone of genius, you're trying to muscle through it because the story that you make up is, I don't have the money to hire somebody for that. Are you kidding me? There is somebody out there right now who would love to support you in your vision, and you get to enroll this person in your vision. And so just pay attention to the actual conversation that you're having that's limiting you from having access to the support that you're worthy of, because the universe wants you to do what you love. The universe wants you to be in an experience where you have support. And the most important thing that The Secret did not talk about. I remember when The Secret came out, I was like, oh, this is great. You know, The Secret, the movie, the book, the whole thing, because it really opened up people's minds to, you know, law of attraction, manifestation, using your magic wand and like thinking of something and calling it in. But what they don't talk about in that movie or in the book is the whole allowance piece. Like, you can think about what you want all day, and you can manifest and do the vision board, and you can do all those things. But if you haven't aligned yourself with your values and your principles, and if your thoughts and your words and your actions are not all in alignment, it's going to be really challenging for you to receive and call in and actually allow yourself to have the things that you desire. So there's a whole worthiness piece that comes in with that. So for me, my biggest stretch, I think, in my life was asking for support. I mean, I remember a time in my life where I was in transition. This is probably 12 years ago. I was in transition between one career and another. And I really, really wanted to just really experience a new version of myself. But I was really experiencing not consistent abundance flowing into my life. And so I remember at that time, I would have rather been dead face up in a gutter than ask anybody for a loan or for support, or like my ego would not permit that or allow that.
And why is that?
My belief, and goes way back into this old story that I made up about myself, that I needed to prove myself through my results. If I asked for support, it meant that I wasn't worthy. It meant that I wasn't good enough. It meant that I was weak. It meant that and so I built this whole belief system around my value, my worth lies within my results. And if I'm not creating X, then I am not worthy of X. So I really got to shift that and know, like, first and foremost, that I was worthy of asking for support. So I enrolled people into my vision. I enrolled people in what I wanted to create. And that really created this whole different paradigm for me as a leader, because when we allow ourselves to ask for support, and this is not help, like, you're not helpless. Like, this is like, if you are clear about your vision and you're not asking for support because of the fear that you have based upon what story you make up on what it means to ask for support, then your ego is the very thing that's going to stand in the way. And it's like, and that trickles into all these different areas of your life. Like, it's a vibrational thing. So the context of your conversation, if you believe that you can't because you're going to be right about that. And then you're going to exhaust yourself trying to figure it out all on your own and teach yourself how to build a website when you have no business building a website. Try to teach yourself how to, you know, do Facebook ads when you have no business trying to figure out Facebook ads. Like 2% of the human, you know, there's like a really small percentage of people who know how to do that very, 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 very well. So it's like, those people do exist, and you get to enroll people in that whole experience, because your vision, your dreams, your leadership, the reason why you were born, like, it must come to life. We need you all to be in your full purpose. Like, there's more than enough to go around. That's also another abundant conversation. Think about how noisy it is online. You can't throw a rock without hitting a freaking something coach. I mean, there's a coach for literally everything. And that's awesome, because there's like this huge boom in personal development, and like, that's what the world needs. Absolutely. But I think that another thing that comes up for people is the fear that how can I differentiate myself? Like, how am I gonna stand out online? Like, who am I gonna be so that people pay attention to me? And then they judge and they compare themselves, and that is complete scarcity. So abundance is knowing that there's more than enough to go around, knowing that your purpose is meant to come to life, and you just get to first and foremost find out who you are and what you want to convey and what you're committed to, and don't waver.
So powerful. And, you know, from what you said, I was just inspired to challenge our listeners / watchers right now with an action that they can do right now. You can pause the podcast and do this, or you can do it right after the podcast, is to make a list of those things that you do on, like, take inventory, like really take inventory on yourself and what you do on a day-to-day, and rank your enjoyment level and your skill level on each of those things. I actually have a whole, of course, spreadsheet. You know how I am. You know I am, Jenna.
You love your spreadsheets. Like,
I have
more power to you.
Yeah, I totally do. But you really just write it down, take inventory, and on those things that are draining you and that aren't bringing you joy, ask yourself what Jenna said was really key. Why do I feel the need to do this? Why am I doing this? What is the belief? What is the story that's having me continue to do this and not receive support, right? And really confronting that story. And I mean, once people, okay, so this is a good question for you. Once someone identifies that, like, okay, I'm handling all my appointment scheduling. I don't want to do that, right? Which, like, I don't do that, by the way, guys. I have an assistant, an OBM that handles everything, and it's changed my life.
Me too.
So let's say that's one of them, right? And then you identify, okay, well, I don't think anyone will want to do this for me, right? I don't think I'm going to be able to find anyone at an affordable price to do this for me. Let's say that's the belief. What do you take women through from that point into getting to that space of actual action and creating that support for themselves?
I ask them what their freedom is worth to them. Like, that's obviously the end result. Like, what is your freedom worth to you?
Yeah.
And so if you want to be a millionaire, stop doing $20 per hour tasks. Stop doing $15 per hour tasks. Like, you get to be open simply for the sake of being open to what you see possible. And so there are, and as you know, I mean, there are so many different ways where you can access support. I mean, I have an assistant who manages literally my entire life, and it's less than $1,000 a month for her to work 20 hours per week. And so I've had people say, well, you know, that's, how can you pay her that much or that little? And so what she's actually making, she's in the Philippines. She is so incredibly grateful. That is a lot of money for them. And so, well, you should pay them that, but it's a different culture. It would actually create a breakdown in the culture if you were to pay them American dollars. Like, it's like a whole thing. So I've heard that conversation. I've heard that, but we all get to realize that that's actually a very high skilled, well-paid professional job for people in the Philippines. And so, you know, like I used to have this story that, you know, I needed to dump so much money into having this massive, massive team. But what I really got to realize was I get to have a team of people who are super aligned to my vision, that I get to focus on doing the things that I love to do. Like, I love connecting people online. I love, you know, producing content and doing all those things. And so I got to get really super clear about what I really actually love to do. And then the things that are not my zone of genius. And then I get to focus on things that I love. And so you all get to ask yourselves, number one, what is your freedom worth to you? Like, can you even put a price on that? Can you put a price tag on that? You can't, you literally cannot. And then ask yourself, what prices are you paying right now by not having access to more time? Because time is the only thing that we can't get back. You can always make more money. Like, we all have the same access to the trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars that are available to all of us, literally, in this universe. And so giving yourself permission to know that and own that and being responsible for that. How can you get creative to start to open up and create more space on your plate so that you can fill those pieces and those spaces with the things that bring you joy? For me, I'm going to talk about manifestation, like 101. Of course, we all remember life prior to COVID. I mean, what a crazy year this has been. An amazing, incredible, beautiful opportunity. I really got to deepen my own understanding of abundance. So at the beginning of the year, I was coming out of postpartum, you know, getting ready to jump back into being in the training room. Literally, we had training scheduled 40 weekends for this year. So that means there are 52 weeks out of the year. And 40 of those weekends, we were going to be doing trainings. And so I was really clear about, wow, that means I'm going to be missing out on a lot for Jax's first year of his life. And like, that's such an incredible foundational part of who he's going to become as an adult. Like, I don't want to miss out on that. And so my story, my internal dialogue was, I don't want to miss out on that. I don't want to miss out on that. I don't want to miss out on that. And I wasn't doing anything about it. I was still getting ready to jump back into the training room, facilitate transformation, and all of these things. And then, of course, COVID, the miracle that COVID was, let me just say, like, if we want to look at all things happening for us, not to us, that's what I chose to take it as, because it opened up all of this space. I've spent so much time at home And I've also been able to create transformation for thousands of people online simply because of this beautiful opportunity. And of course, your interpretation of this whole of 2020 is entirely, because for all of you listening, whatever your interpretation is of this year is going to define the rest of your life. So if you say that 2020 was the worst year of your life, well, I mean, that's going to be true for you. If you can look at this year as like, wow, deep, profound shadow work, an opportunity to remove the things that are no longer important to us, an opportunity to get really super clear about what we're actually here to cause and generate, and not settle for literally anything that is not in alignment with that purpose and that vision and that mission. If you decide that that is what 2020 was for you, it's going to propel you in the direction of your vision. And if you keep focusing on all these things that happen and all these breakdowns, and yes, a lot of things happen, a lot of breakdowns, a lot of heartache, a lot of suffering, a lot of pain, a lot of those things did take place this year. And our interpretation of this year is going to absolutely lay the foundation for the rest of your life. So you get to ask yourselves what you want 2021 to look like, what you want the next 5 years to look like for you, for your business, for your vision, for your mission, for your community, for your family, for your own personal wellness and health. You get to ask yourself that and be mindful about your interpretation, because your interpretation is ultimately what your reality is.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? It's such a muscle that we get to flex every single day, of where you're focusing and where you're choosing to place your attention, what thoughts you're choosing to give energy to. And as we take inventory and become more and more aware of our thoughts, I mean, we know the best way to identify a thought is to experience the feeling, because the feeling is created from the thought, right? So if you're thinking something that's miserable, your body's going to feel miserable. You're probably going to feel, I feel it in my stomach. I feel tightness in my chest when I have that anxiety, right? So, that's an indicator. That's the cue. What am I thinking right now that's having me feel this way? And okay, how can I shift into something that is going to have me feel a heck of a lot better? Because I'll tell you too, I've aligned with everything that you just said. And I've had, people come in my DMs, and, clients say things like, well, this has been really hard and da-da-da and all stuff. And look, I get it. It's a shift. Anything that's a change in behavior is going to be hard. Like, I acknowledge and appreciate that. And like, that's the best, as we know, anything that's uncomfortable is showing us, there's growth here. There's growth here. There's opportunity here for me. So it's like leaning into that discomfort, choosing to lean into that, and then seeing, okay, this is what's available. Because I'll tell you, it wasn't like the most comfortable thing. And I've been really grateful for all of it. I really have. Like, I've had very few moments of like, obviously there's some frustrations where it's like you're like, oh, that restaurant, I'm craving that right now. Can't go there. Right. But it's like, overall, being able to really take inventory of your thoughts and how you're choosing to think about this right now. This is such a huge moment in history for us. It's going down in the history books, and it's going down in your history book too. It's going down in your history book.
So true. So powerful. And what you were saying about like the feelings that we have, if you think about that, like times where you feel tightness in your chest or a pain in your stomach or anxiety in your body, like the physical sensations, like what we experience, that is entirely like 100% up to us. Like if we have the physical sensations, it's actually a trigger. The triggers are the guides. And when we do have those experiences, then we get to be super, super, super aware that it's happening for us. Like if we have those physical sensations, like our higher self is communicating to us by communicating through us.
Yes. And it's not about resisting those feelings. It's about literally fully, because sometimes people say, okay, I'm just going to spiritually bypass. Okay. Let me just focus on positive. Like, we get to acknowledge it. It's like going into that and acknowledging, this is how I'm choosing to think about it. I'm going to choose this instead, and actively participating in that. It's flexing your muscles so that soon that's going to be your autopilot. You're going to just be autopiloting happiness in your life and in your body. Okay. So I know, right, girl? It's like that. And that's been my game. That has been my game ever. And I've said this on the previous podcast that Jenna was in, the very, very beginning of my podcast. If you guys listen to that, Jenna was a huge catalyst for me and shifting my thought process, the way that I think about life, the way that I think about myself. And thoughts are freaking powerful. And I was so disconnected from myself. I was ignoring, resisting, avoiding, shutting, shaming. I wasn't acknowledging. And so something really important I want you to get is like Jenna and I aren't saying to like bypass. We're saying to lean in, to take inquiry and choose
and
something that
it.
Exactly. And choose what actually has you feeling so much better.
Mm-hmm.
So Jenna, I want to ask you this question. And I ask everyone on this Female on Fire series the same question. And I feel like I have kind of an idea of what you're going to say. But what is something that you used to hide, mute, or dim that you have reactivated and reignited about yourself through your transformational journey that has made you really pivotal in becoming the female on fire that you are today?
Such a great question. And I want you to pause here because I just noticed that I'm wearing my Invisaligners and I've got like so I need to take it out. I mean, actually, you know what? Don't take it out. Actually, leave it. I just like don't want gums. Hello. So here's the deal. Back to transformation. I'm wearing these Invisalign trays and they're not comfortable. Like we don't talk about physical sensations. I got my gums are sometimes they're bleeding, like my teeth are moving, my teeth are sore. I'm like, let's talk about the fact that I am in the middle of transformation right now. Don't edit that out. Keep it.
Done.
Keep it.
Done deal. I love it.
Keep it. Because there's nothing that I want to talk about on social media. I just was like, I don't know how they feel about me taking out my tray, but you know what? Screw it. It's all perfect. So
Unreal.
Keep it in. So anyway, the biggest thing that I have accessed and really embodied through all of this, I would say, is honestly being myself. I mean, when I shifted my branding from being like an online coach, I'm not the kind of person who's going to sit at like a water fountain with my coffee mug and my laptop and I'm like, you can choose freedom anywhere all over the planet. Like that's not who I am as a coach. So I really wanted to be outrageous and fierce and powerful and playful and courageous and maniac on a mission and joyful and over the top and just that kind of person who I knew was going to push some buttons simply by shifting my branding. And I knew that people were either going to love it or they were going to hate it. And so I totally took on this whole unicorn university branding. I mean, I was like literally unicorns in my photo shoots. I was outrageous. I would literally drive 4 hours to find this one spot just to capture this beautiful place out in nature wearing like an elegant dress that is so random, but like that's me. I'm just so over the top and out of this world. So I really wanted to create that. And so there also came this point in time when I realized that I was no longer the unicorn. I wasn't identifying with it anymore. I wasn't in alignment with it anymore. Not to make it wrong, it really was the foundation of so much of my branding. But then came this time where I realized I was ready to level up and bring everybody with me, like the women that I'm here to serve. I am so ready to elevate, to ascend, to grow, to move through different dimensions, to play in different dimensions, to talk about things that maybe I never talked about before, like the power of plant medicine, deepening, trauma release and shadow work and all of that, like these different dimensions that most people don't know the kind of work that I actually do because they just see what's happening on the surface. So I asked myself, how can I deepen my messaging? How can I embody what I'm here to cause and have people feel that, like be in alignment with it and feel it and resonate with that? And so I also know I'm not everyone's cup of tea and I'm cool with that. And that was a big thing that held me back a lot in my leadership is I wanted my shadow work, my ego wants everybody to like me.
Yep.
I don't want to push anybody.
I can relate.
Yeah. So I know that we've totally talked about this. So that was a big part of my own shadow work is to not give a flying F about what people thought about me because my vision is bigger than my fears. My vision is bigger than my ego. My vision, my mission, my whole purpose for being here is so much bigger than that whole experience. So I'm just super clear that was what I really fully embodied. Yes. That has had me be where I am right now with everything that you and I are working on.
Well, I'm so happy that you said that, Jenna. And I had a feeling that's what you were going to say. But I know you. So, and here's the thing, right? We're talking about, this whole podcast is really, this episode about having it all. One of the how-tos in having it all, we talked about support. The other thing is expressing yourself, like fully, unapologetically, shamelessly expressing yourself, because the freedom in that, what you're going to be able to create from that space versus living in a prison of, I want a people-pleasing prison. Try to say that 6 times fast of wanting everyone to like you. I know that game. I mean, raise your hand if you can, if you know that game, and it's exhausting AF. It is so exhausting. It feels like a prison. It literally feels like a prison. So
100%.
It frees you to even have the ability to have it all. I mean, and I love that you said, you're like, it's not everyone's cup of tea. You either hate it or you love it. You guys know, my ladies know, I talk about magnetic confidence a lot. Okay. Why I add in that magnetic piece is the magnetism, the polarization that happens when you're so grounded in who you really are. Like all the outrageous parts, all the silly, goofy parts, all of the obnoxious, everything, right? There are going to be people that it's not their cup of tea. And so what? That ain't your tribe. And the other thing that you said, which is really important, is that you've like the allowing of your evolution of your brand is super important for anyone listening who has a personal brand. This is going to happen along your journey where it's happening to me right now. I had the magnetic confidence course and now I'm launching Female on Fire. It's a totally different experience. It's because it's my evolution too. So Jenna is literally, I love it. We're both, and Jenna, could you drop a little hint about what's coming for the people, for the ladies listening? Because I'm excited. And I know the behind the scenes.
Oh, I'm so excited. I don't even know where to start. There's just so much evolution. I'm just really clear. I'll just say this. I'm super, super clear about what's next for our planet, what's needed for our planet. And my purpose and my reason for being born is to support women in elevation, ascension, like really upgrading their consciousness and ultimately learning how they can actually have it all. Like they can have the family, they can have the relationship, they can have the empire, they can have, the fancy shoes, the not so fancy shoes. Like you can have literally every single piece of your life, every domain of your life, you can have the full sliding scale. And so learning how to flex in that, because nothing is forever. Everything in this world is temporary. So learning how to flex with the tides and move with the tides and really allow yourself to trust the timing of everything, like really, really trust the universe. So it's so funny. I keep seeing all these signs for trust, like trust. And I'm like, I feel like I should get that tattooed on my wrist. I have this bracelet that says trust the process on it and then let your light shine. So then of course I'm in Natalie's office and she has this journal on just literally on her table, just trust the process.
Trust the process.
It keeps popping up for me. Like I'm so clear that is really like the deepening in my messaging. I'm writing a book right now that really reflects all of like the elevation of my branding and what it means to be an incredible conscious empress. Like, cause it's, that was the biggest thing coming away from what it means to be unicorn. I was like, well, queen doesn't really, that doesn't really like align with me because I just feel like it's so overdone, like queen, boss babe, like it's also overplayed. And I got really, really super clear about who I get to be and what I stand for women, like that elevation in every single area of your life. So lots more to come. That's just a little taste test right there. But Ashley, I want to acknowledge you for being so amazing and such a catalyst for my brain to really elevate and really finally arrive at this place where you have always seen it and what you've always seen in me, like the way that you have always believed in me and the way that you hold me and the way that you like really just are like the wind beneath my wings. Like I've been that for you and now you're being that for me. And it's just been so fun to play with you in this whole thing. And yeah, and it was a really big leap for me to just let those parts of my old branding go, because it was a lot of energy and time and investment and money and like all these things. But to know that like that was just a phase and to let that just be released is now creating so much space for me to be open for what I'm actually here to create. So, it's also exciting.
Wow. It literally full circle too. We were that's what we were talking about in the beginning. You guys remember that, like releasing, surrendering, trusting your inner guides. Like this is all, if you're I invested so much into it, I got to stick with it. Again, you're rigidly attached to your agenda. You ain't leaving room for the magic. So I love how we just full circled that unintentionally, like totally intentionally.
Yep.
But so perfectly. So Jenna, I am so happy that we got to do this again, and that we got to do this on the podcast since the last time, and where you are at now. Like it's cool for those who listened to your episode before to see and to hear like you in this space. And so for those that haven't already followed you and aren't already in your community, where can they find you? Where can they go to learn more about what you're giving to the world? Can you share that with us? And we'll put everything in the description for you guys.
Awesome. Super easy. I am literally the one, the only Jenna Phillips Ballard. There's no other Jenna Phillips Ballard in the universe. There's lots of Jenna Phillipses, lots of Jenna Ballards, but Jenna Phillips Ballard, I'm super easy to find. You can find me on social media, Instagram, Facebook, and then of course, my new website's coming very soon. So stay tuned.
Yeah. Stay tuned. I love it. Well, Jenna, this has been so fun. I always love talking to you. I knew it was going to be super flowing and seamless and fun and like lots of pivoting and amazing things. This was like the best. So you guys got to be a part of that. Like, that's pretty cool. You guys know I'm raw. I'm not going to edit this stuff out. I'm really going to let you guys in on the behind the scenes that happens. It's real stuff. So thank you, Jenna, for being so flexible too, and for making this happen, and your commitment. You're the definition of relentless commitment. I love you. I appreciate you so much for coming on the show.
I love you. Thank you so much for having me. I'll see you soon.